So welcome everyone to our community update for June 29th. As always, I will start off with a few statistics for our community. We now have a total of 74 open source developers on GitHub and 1,068 GitHub stars. In the last couple of weeks, we have added 42 new community members to our Slack and 43 new community members that are spread across some of our other platforms. So of course, welcome to all of our new and returning members. Our major release of 11.0 is tomorrow. Since this is a major release, we will be spending the majority of our time this week doing an overview and doing some demos to showcase all of these new features. So each feature will get about 5 minutes and various presenters will share their screen and show you and give you a little walkthrough of each of these topics. So we'll just dive right in. Vivek is going to be first, showing us a bit about collaboration and tasks.
Awesome. Thanks, Marisa. Hey, thanks everyone for joining.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. So as most of you might already be enjoying the conversations feature that we introduced, where you can comment and reply to the conversations, we are taking it to the next level of creating tasks. And I'm super excited to show a quick demo of a couple of use cases where we can create tasks and assign it to a specific user or a specific team and get it done. So let's jump right in. I'm going to search for a table. Okay, we see that some of the columns are missing description here, and I'm going to request for a description for this platform column. So I click on this icon and I'm taken to a new page where I can create this task. And this is the default title for the task where I can make some changes as I want. And by default, this is assigned to the owner of the table, which is Harsha for now. And I can also provide a suggestion for this description if I have any idea of this, what this column is about and what this table is about. But since I don't have any idea, I'm just going to create this task and assign it to Harsha. That's about it. So now we have a task and we have a permalink for this task that can be shared across the organization. And Harsha will get a notification. And either Harsha or the admins will be able to add this description and close this task. So let me also log in as an admin user and show you how it looks like on the other side. All right, this is my admin user. We see the activity pop up in the activity feed as well. So let's jump right in. So this is the description that I recently requested for, and I'm just going to add some description, and the task is resolved successfully, and you see the new description updated for this platform column. So we can also see the list of tasks around this column, and folks can come and react to these tasks or even reply to this task. So we have added this new reactions feature. And as you can see, Harsha has already replied to this task thread. And all of this is going to be updating in the activity feed, notifying everyone in the organization. As you can see in the activity feed, once I resolved it, there is also an automatic comment posted on the task with the new description. And I would like to quickly show the other use case where we can also update description. Let me move back to the other window. Yes. All right, so we have some descriptions available here. And if I want to update this description, I can again click on the same icon to request for update description. And for this table, Pere is the owner and he is the default assignee and I don't want to change it. and the title looks good to me, but I can make a suggestion for this description on what I want to be updated. Let's say the value is formatted in just USD. And once I make my changes, I also have an option to look at the diff on what changes I have made for the current description. And if it looks good, I can just go and submit this task. That's it. So we have the task available and it shows the diff, and Pere or the admins can come and act on this. So let's see how this one looks like for an admin. So the admin gets two options for this case, where they can accept the suggestion as it is, or if they want to make some more changes, they can always go and edit and then accept the description. So let's say I just want to add 2 dots here. And that's it. So the description is updated and the task is resolved and everybody gets notified with the description update. So yeah, that's about it. I hope this is helpful for you folks.
Yeah, and this is as opposed to a lot of people, sending Slack message for updating descriptions, creating Jira tickets, right? Or sending an email, which are all, heavy workflows. And it also takes, breaks your workflow away from, what you're doing in OpenMetadata. So all of these things are part of collaboration, taking collaboration to the next level. And you can just get a lot of things done right here without context switches.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This looks fantastic. Super excited that it is ready to go. Next, we have Shailesh, who's going to introduce us to the column level lineage.
Thank you, Melissa. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I am going to share my screen. So here I'm going to show a new feature, that is a column level lineage, which is most awaited feature. So I can show you earlier version. So it is look like this. You can go to Sandbox and see this. So you can quickly see the improvement made by team. We have improved our UI, UX. So we have this plus icon to expand the and see the columns. For connecting one column to another, we can go to edit mode and add any of the table. Let's say search for sales. So now we have this dots which connects one column with another column. So once you move your cursor over any of the column, and you can see this is ready to connect with here. So it seems like it's stuck. Oh, sorry, let me refresh.
Hey, just to give some context to everyone here. So this is like a manual editor that we shipped from a long time, and we continue to support that. Where if you have some context as a user, as a data consumer and data producer, you can actually come and add that lineage information. So what Shailesh is showing that. But we also automated a lot of lineage coverage, like pretty much all databases that we talk to. We analyze the query logs, CTAS queries and everything else insert into. We automatically calculate the lineage. And we also do that to column level lineage as well from 0.11 onward, release onwards. So what we are showing part of it. So we do have automated lineage that covers everything from all the databases.
Thanks for sure. So I'm currently demoing the manual lineage. So it is ready to connect here. We need to grab one dot with another, connect, and it is connected. Yeah, you can quickly see full chart, get out of the edit mode, and you can do the full lineage here. See, it shows it is connected with this table. So yeah, you can, if you want, you can delete the page. yeah, this is what you need. On refresh, you can see full hierarchy as other table also with connected with this already added table. So we can see full chart. We can expand over here and see connected edges, which is already generated by script. So yeah,
Wonderful.
column leveling. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
next is advanced search from Sachin.
Sorry for the noise. Hey, thank
No
you,
worries.
Marisa.
Hi.
I'm sharing my screen.
Sure.
Yeah. So today I will be talking about the advanced search that we have added for this release. So I think you guys have might use this search box that we have. So I will search for team and I will redirect to this explore page. So where I can get the result. Now, let's say I want more specific result that let's say uh, we have 14 result, but I want a table that owned by this user PM role. So I will apply this unknown field and I will search for his name and then we will get more specific result like only owned by PM role. Now also I want the only table that has a column, particular column. So I can also query for that. So let's say I want a table that owned by Pere and which has a column sale ID. So let me search for sale. Oh, sorry. So again, I will apply the filter. The user and a column. Let's select also side. So yeah, as you can see, by using this advanced search feature, I can get more very specific result that I want. So we have different entities, which is table, topic, dashboard, pipeline, and ML model. And for each entity, we have this advanced search field available, and they have some specific to that particular entity. So let's say on dashboard, I want to like search by chart name, then I can select and I can query. Yeah. So here by using this advanced field for chart, I'm getting the more specific result for this particular dashboard. Same way we have pipeline entity and there we have task owner, tag service and all of things. So here also we can filter out by task. So let me search for Snowflake task. As you can see, we have this more specific. Let's say I want more specific which contain 5 as a text. So this is how the advanced search works. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much about the advanced search feature that we ship for this release.
Thank you. It looks really great. It's going to seriously speed up the ability for people to, find what they're looking for. So you don't have to remember all your tables off the top of your head.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you.
Of course. The next topic we're going to talk about is our new ingestion connectors. That's going to be either Ankar or Mayor.
I can start. So
Great.
one of the connectors that we have added for this release is the Airbyte connector. So Airbyte connector basically helps us to replicate the data over different databases and applications. So I've set up my Airbyte connection over here, and this Airbyte connection has two pipelines. One replicates the data from MS SQL to Postgres, and the other one replicates the data from MS SQL to MS SQL to MySQL. So for this demo, I'll focus on the MS SQL to Postgres connection pipeline. So in this pipeline, I have applied the replication logic to replicate these four tables that are under production schema. So the table are branch categories, products, and stocks. Uh, in my uh, OpenMetadata instance, I've already ingested this MS SQL and Postgres, and under the production schema, I already have all the tables available. Also, as you can see, this pipeline was succeeded several times and also is currently running. So since it was succeeded, my data got replicated into Postgres, and if I see under Postgres, there are some tables generated by the Airbyte, and also the table as it is exists. The tables have been migrated over here. So all the tables I have, and now I'll start the ingestion process for the Airbyte. So Airbyte is a pipeline service. You can choose Airbyte over here, and you can put the host port over here, and you can test the connection. The connection was successful. We also want to include the lineage, so we'll check this switch. And we'll deploy. Okay, so the service has been created, and my DAG has been generated. Now it should ingest all the pipelines for me. I'll just refresh. So both the pipelines here are ingested for me. And if I go to the Postgres MS SQL pipeline, I can see all the status. So for example, in this case, this current pipeline is in running state. So that's why blue color, and there were several execution. For example, this was succeeded. This task got failed a couple of times. Uh, Two attempts were failed, and the third attempt was successful. So that also I can see two attempts got failed and one was successful. And also this brings, since the MS SQL and Postgres were already ingested, we also get this lineage information that connects MS SQL tables to Postgres tables through this pipeline. So that is it for Airbyte connection. Onkar will take over for the mode dashboard.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'll share my screen. Yeah, so basically mode is a visual explorer of data. Like it can handle dashboards, it can have charts, reports. So for like testing purpose, I have created some demo sample charts in mode. So yeah, if I open this, I can see the data. So the data that is coming into these charts is from a Redshift instance. And so what we need to do first to like ingest all the mode charts is to get lineage. I have to first ingest the Redshift instance through which the data in the through which the dashboards and charts in the mode was created. So I have done that. I have created a Redshift instance and ingested the data into OpenMetadata. And now I will go into services. I will go to dashboard service since it's mode, and add a new service. Go select mode. enter a name. And I'll enter the connection details. So just give me a minute here. Yeah, so I entered the necessary details in the connection page, and then the service is created for more. And I will add an ingestion here. I will add the name of the Redshift source, which is UI Redshift here. Redshift, yeah. And then click on next and deploy the ingestion. So if we say this, it will create a tag and then start ingesting the charts. So it will take some seconds to ingest.
You can see the dashboards appearing in the tab. You may want.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it is successful now, and the dashboards are ingested here. And if we click on one of them, I can just click here to get to the dashboard directly, and it will open. If I'm logged in on mode in the browser, I can directly view my dashboards and charts that come. And same will go for individual charts too. If I open it open it here, I can view individual charts too in the Modes Explorer. Yeah, I can edit directly here, and I can even see the lineage information that gets generated through the data source. So basically this information, the orders and customers table I use to create these charts. These charts are created using that, and I can see the report that that has using this data sources. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you, everyone.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, guys. That's fantastic. That lineage is starting to get complicated on those pipelines. It looks great.
Yeah, so Abhishek will take over and show the data lake ingestion.
Okay.
Thank you, Omkar. Let me share my screen. So just a second. So data lake connector, in data lake connector, so basically we want to fetch some data from JSON format or CSV files or some Parquet files. So which is stored in some cloud storage like S3 or GCS. We can use data lake here. So I'll be demoing data lake. Just a second.
So a little bit of context here about what we're calling as data lake, right? So a lot of companies are now storing S3, GCS, whatnot, to store big files in a Parquet format, JSON, CSV, TSV, and all that stuff. And then you use Presto or something other tool to analyze that. There is no clear metadata to actually hook into and get the metadata and process into OpenMetadata, right? Like typical databases will have some sort of metadata. In these files, there is no central repository where someone can maintain the metadata. So what we are trying to do here is we go to these buckets, these storage services, S3 or GCS, analyze the part of the files and get the schema out of that and publish it to OpenMetadata. That way, you have kind of comprehensive metadata across all the systems that you have. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we can choose here data lake, and we can proceed to next, and we can specify data lake demo like that. And here we can choose S3 config or GCS config from this drop down, and we can specify the config here. So we can specify the credentials, and we can proceed further. So I have already entered those credentials here for S3 buckets. So I'll just demo this one. So we can simply, after entering the credentials here, we can test connection and save, and then add and deploy. It will take few seconds to ingest the data. So we will just wait for a few seconds. So it has already added that database, and this is the bucket name, and these are the files. So these are the files from CSV. This is CSV files and some JSON files and TSV files. So we can simply open it, and we can check the schema format here. And this same thing is with the GCS also. So I've already added this connection here. So I have already added a connection here. Just let me show this one. Yes. So I have just a second. Yeah. So if we don't specify any bucket, it will loop through all the buckets and it will fetch the files from those buckets. So I have added here the JSON files and PAKV files. So we can check the schema from this tab. Yeah. So this is pretty much from Data Lake. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic. These are looking really great.
Thank you.
So next, we're going to hear about the profiler and quality test improvements from Teddy.
Yes, so on the data quality test side, we've added 7 new tests to are natively available in OpenMetadata. So there are 3 new table tests. The table column count to be between, which allows you to make sure that your column count is within a specific range. We have the table column name to exist test that will allow you to test that a specific column name does exist within your table. And we have the table column to match set that will allow you to verify that the expected columns in your table are present. Now you can enforce for that specific test, you can enforce the test to match the specific input order. So it often happens that you want your table columns to be in a specific order. So that will allow you to test that specific element is respected. Then we've added 4 column tests. The first one is the column value max to be between, which allows you to make sure that the maximum value within your column is between a specific range. We have the same test, but for the minimum value in your column. We have a similar test, but for the sum of the value in your column. And then finally, we added a column value to be inset that allows you to check that specific values are indeed within your column. On the profiler side, what we've added is the native support for BigQuery partition table. So if you have BigQuery tables that you've created with specific partition, the profiler will be able to pick up that specific partition and run the sampling and the data quality against that specific partition. By default, it assumes that your partition is timestamp based, and then it will fetch basically the previous partition, but that can be configured in your profiler workflow configuration file. So you're able to specify a specific number of days that you want to fetch your partition against. So it can be whatever you think is is necessary. And then if you want to specify which field you want to run the profiler again to use as the partition field for your table, you can specify it here in the partition field key. And you can also specify partition values if your partition field is not a datetime field. For example, if you have a table that is partitioned on product category or whatnot, then you can specify your partition field and the partition values that you want to use. Then on the profiler, the last feature that we've added is the ability for users to run, to define custom queries. The profiler would then use that custom query to run the data sampling and as well run all the profiling against that specific table. So those are the three features: the new test, the support for BigQuery partition tables, and the ability to use custom query for all the profiler workflow related jobs. And that's it on my end, Marissa.
Okay, thank you,
I think
Teddy. That's
one more
fantastic.
thing we want to point out in the test categories, we also have Great Expectation Publisher coming in part of 0.11. So if you're running Great Expectations, it's easier to use OpenMetadata, but if you still want to use Great Expectations, you can publish all your test results and visualize in OpenMetadata.
Thank you. Okay, next, Devani is going to give us an update on both the Glossary update, UI updates, as well as the new layout.
Hi all, so I'll be quickly taking you through the UI layout updates that we have made in this version. Let me quickly share my screen and so first major change that we have done is on our home page, where you can see proper sectioning and card styling. We have basically collaborated with Design to improve our look and feel of the product, so the content is more crisp and sharp and easy to consume and easy and improvised navigation. So this is what your homepage looks like, where we have added an additional filter where you can filter out your feed on the basis of task and conversations, or you could have all the threads. So you could filter them out. And the next major thing is our explore page, where again we have updated the layout with our card styling, so that again there are more better visualization of your filters over here that you see, and card styling updates again for better content consumption. So next, I would come to our one of the features, Glossary, where we have changed the layout. So you'd be able to see your major glossary, and you'll be able to create child terms, and you'll see all your details and related terms, synonyms, references, all the terms that you might want to add over here on any particular glossary, and you would be able to add more terms. So that's how we have styled glossary. Then next would be the profile page. So over here, we have again tried to improve the styling so that again, we have a big profile picture and more sharp details, again for easy consumption, because it's a data oriented platform. So it's important for a user to be able to consume data. So these are the major changes, and you would see a reflection of all these layouts on all our pages. So these are the major updates.
Thank you, Devani, so much.
Yeah, I hope you like the new layout and the new look and feel.
I personally love it. We are always open to feedback though, so if anybody has any suggestions, please let us know. Thank you so much. Only a couple more to go now, so we're going to hear from Mohit about Java SDK.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
You can see.
Yes.
Okay, so we already took a look at the OpenMetadata Java client SDK, which enables us to communicate with the APIs that we have exposed. So we'll be looking at the same. So I have my server up, which is hosted at localhost 585. We have a bunch of APIs that we can hit and get our data. For example, API/v1/version. So you see, this gives us some data. Just to enable that in our Java side, what we have done is we have written this open metadata Java client, which enables you to communicate with our API endpoints. So inside that, we have this open metadata class, which gives us every endpoint that is exposed. We have our Swagger file. Just a second. This is the Swagger definition that we have, which we use to generate our client. Every API that is exposed by our open metadata server is documented here, and we use this to generate our classes. So if you go to target, and if you see generated sources, so under that you'll be able to find all the APIs that are there. For example, bots API, catalog API, right? All these APIs are there. And we have also provided some helper security SSO providers, that is Auth0, Azure, Custom OIDC, Google Authentication Provider. So these require bare minimum configurations. For example, for Google SSO, what you need to give is your the path to your secret.json and the secret key, and you'll be able to use that to communicate to the authenticated server to get the responses. So this is about it. Now what we'll do is we'll take a look how we can configure the gateway. So gateway in itself requires two things. One is the auth provider. So currently I've selected the no authentication provider because it is not in secure mode, but we can go ahead and select one of the authentication provider based on our needs. For example, it can be Auth0, Azure, Custom, stuff like that. Okay, and it will have some requirements. For example, this node does not have any requirement, but Google one will, let's say, have some requirement where we specify the security config, which is Google SSO client config. So these can be created. So here I've created a simple node authentication provider. Another thing is the server config. So this server config contains the endpoint where we want to communicate, some API version details. Now what we do is we use this auth provider to be set into this server config, and we can open a gateway. Now what this gateway does is it enables us to connect with all the APIs that we have. For example, just showed you that we have bunch of APIs like bots API, catalog API. So currently what I'm doing is I'm trying to build a client which enables me to connect with users API. So if we go to users API, so this is a generated class. Users API have all these methods: create or update user, create user, delete users. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm asking my gateway to build me a client for users API, right? So it gave me a users API client. And if I have this client, I'm able to make all the calls to the functions, given that I need the necessary details that are required by it. For example, for creating a user, you need a create user bot request. So you can create that. For now, what we are doing is we are trying to list users. So if we go to list users, we'll see that it accepts a query param, or you can directly pass it through list users as well. So there you have fields, you have team, you have limit, or you can pass this as a hash map, right, which contains key as the param and value as the actual value for it. So I don't need anything. I just want to list all the users. So what I'll do is I'll just print out the users using system.out. And I'm passing an empty hash map stating that I do not have any query param. So when I try to run this, as you can see, we will get a list of all the users that are there. You see, there are around, so we got paging as well, which tells us there are in total around 108 users. So we by default limit it to around 10 users, which we are getting out. So this is what we are able to get using the client. Now we also have one helper class. What that does is it helps you to, this is just for the list users or any of the list APIs that we have, for example, for events or config, for charts. If you want to list something, in that case, we can use this wrapper. So it asks for a client and the method name, that is list users. It can be, let's say, lists boards as well, but for that you'll need the client as boards API, right? And we can tell it that we want to have a users list, and you'll see what it does is it brings out every user that is there. It makes internally, it makes repetitive calls to fetch the data using the after. Thanks to Path, we have this list results, which sort of prints everything, every user details that are there. So you see, it fetched 108. I just printed the size. We can print the list as well. So if you go ahead and do that, you'll see we get every user that is there, right? You see, this is 108, and we can confirm that by looking at the server side. You see, we get a bunch of calls for the users, which is making repetitive calls to get all the users that are there in the system. Okay. So that's all as for the Java client. We also have this published on the Maven Central. So if you go to Maven Central, you'll see that we have this published on the Maven Central. So this is 0.11 version that we have released there. So if anybody wants to use it, they can just go ahead and add this dependency like this. You can say the group ID is org.open-metadata, and the artifact ID is OpenMetadata Java client, and the version is 0.11. You just add this dependency to your project, and all the things that are required for making the API calls will be available there inside your project. So yeah, I guess that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you so much. Last but not least is going to be a topic of ML models by Patty.
Okay, thank you everyone. Hope you can see my screen. So we are actually pretty excited to roll this out. This actually was one of my first collaborations to OpenMetadata, so really happy to see everything live now. And the idea is that we want to start incorporating more and more features that allow the ingestion and collaboration around ML models that have reached production, right? So just for this brief demo, I want to show you how I have here some local MLflow service running with with a model that I've been training a few times. I'm storing everything here in this kind of virtualized bucket. And all of this information I'm able to pick up directly from OpenMetadata as well, right? So the same way that we can here create the connection to database, messaging, and so on. Now we're also able to connect to machine model, ML model services. In this case, so far MLflow, but we will continue to add support for example, SageMaker and so on. And we can create the ingestions from here and explore as well our models. So one of the interesting points that we want to that we actually want to bring here in OpenMetadata through ML models is actually this bridge, this linking between what is happening in your model and how that relates to the rest of assets that you have in your platform. So there are a bunch of growing tools such that do the same job, such as MLflow, right? They allow you to experiment quick, to like try to improve and fine tune what you're trying to do with your data science work, right? But they do not really bring an easy connection to the rest of the environment. So here we want to really try to break this isolation And that's why when we ingest the features, we also will be iterating as well as to add the sources, right? This is not an information that it's currently available in most of these services, and we will also be improving the support so that we can say, hey, these are my features that I have in my model, this is their type, this is what they mean, and also we will keep improving to say, and this is from where they come from. So just wanted to show quickly this new UI, how we can check the features, how we can check the hyperparameters, where the model is stored, and so on. And if any of you has a machine learning like use case in their company that they would like to discuss, that they would like to also help us understand how they are trying to get the collaboration done, we're more than happy to jump on a call and define this roadmap together. And that would be it on my side. Thanks.
Thank you. This is fantastic. Lots of really exciting features for this release. So I'm just going to share my screen again here. Okay. So I just wanted to take a quick moment this week and highlight that Shilpa, our fantastic technical writer, has been working diligently to put together a knowledge base for our community. This is now a fantastic resource for our entire community, and it's actually on our GitHub under discussions. So if you have a question about OpenMetadata, this is the best place to go to see if it possibly already has an answer. If not, feel free to open a question right on our discussions, or you can open a discussion topic, and then we can work with you from there. So our link to our knowledge base is actually bookmarked at the top of our Slack support channel so that it has easy access for anybody who has any questions. So alongside of the massive release that we just went through for the last 45 minutes or so, we actually have been working on a special project. And without further ado, I'll just hand it back to Perry to quickly show what this project is.
Yeah, thanks, Marisa. Going to steal your screen here for a second.
Yep.
So, like, there are different kinds of experiences, right, that we want to actually improve, that we want to make our users and our collaborators to enjoy using OpenMetadata as much as possible. So as you can see in this release, we've been focusing a lot on the user experience, on improving the actual product to make sure that people can go on, they can see this new, sleek, fantastic view, they can understand better all the components, they can work better together, right? So this would be one of the pieces of the experience. Then there's also the community experience. And we really hope that you all feel welcome in the community, that you all feel the hard work that we put behind in trying to assist and help everyone with their issues, with their questions as much as possible. For us, the community is one of the biggest pillars that we want to get right, and that we do believe in a lot. So that would be the second kind of experience. And finally, there's also the developers experience, right? We want to really encourage people to come here more and more, and to help them use OpenMetadata, to help them also collaborate together with the project. And we realized that some of the questions that we were getting in the support channel were because some of these pieces of information, either they weren't really correct, they were maybe hard to find or hard to understand, and so on. So that's why we've been putting some effort in revamping all of our documentation. So we are still working on this. We hope to roll everything out on the following weeks, but we will be teaching Gitbook for an in-house solution so that we can actually tune a bit more the UI. We can work a bit better into getting the right experience, the right also the right view, so that it feels as close as possible to the same view offered by the product. And we've been trying to take a deep look on what other companies use. Then we get like a lot of inspiration from what Streamlit was doing with their open source documentation framework. So we went and tried to build something on top of that, that hopefully will make
all of our lives easier internally to collaborate better and bring you better documentation that together will also be easier to search and easier to consume. So yes, stay tuned. Pretty excited about this.
Me too. Thank you, Perry. Documentation is a bit of a passion of mine. I was the one that, when I worked at Streamlit, asked them to revamp their documentation. and it worked really well. So I hope that it will very much clear up a lot of the issues that we've been having with people asking questions, not being able to find stuff. Okay, thank you so much, Perry. And I'm going to reshare my screen and just end our meeting with a couple of community updates as usual. I'm not changing. I want to change my, there we go. Sorry, got it. Okay. So we actually have 2 merged community PRs in the last couple of weeks. This time, one from Mario and one from Anna. So Mario fixed an Airflow lineage bug, and Anna started the connection to run OpenMetadata ingestion workflows on Prefect. So thank you both so much for being such active members of our community. We love to see PRs. They help us rocket OpenMetadata into the future. I wanted to take a quick second to call out the community members that have been helping us make OM better by opening GitHub issues and giving us their feedback. So thank you to everyone here on this list. And finally, I will highlight some of our most active community members from the last couple of weeks. Thanks again to Mario and Anna for their PR contributions. They're on here. But we also have Abhishek, Anirudh, Asher, Bohan, and Kingsley. So thank you all for your contributions. And I'm going to let myself finish a couple minutes early so that we can hopefully have some questions. Do we have any questions from our community members? We went through a lot today with all of the reviews of the features that we're releasing.
Hi, Marisa. I have a couple of questions around the data lake ingestion new feature. So in the demo, we've seen, for example, the Google data lake or S3 data lake, doesn't matter. We've seen a couple of files there which were ingested, and then we saw the schema associated with them. What I want to ask is, how exactly is the ingestion happening in terms of which files are analyzed for structure? Is there some sort of sampling going on behind the scenes, and how does that work exactly? And what happens if you have multiple different files in terms of structure? Would you get a table for each of one of them, or?
Yeah, of course. So shoot, let me just run back. Who was it that presented for our...
Yeah, so in data lake connector, so we are fetching data from CSV, DSV, JSON, and Parquet files only for now. And yeah, so we will fetch the schema first. For example, if we have some CSV file, we will fetch the columns, and then we will fetch the data and ingest in the table. So similarly with the other file formats as well. Yeah.
Okay, but how many files are you actually analyzing? Let's say I have 1,000 files in one of the buckets, 1,000 CSV files. Do you do some sampling? Do you take, for example, only 2 files? You look for the structure and you assume all the files have the same structure?
I'm not getting actually exactly what you are looking for, but if there is like hundreds of files, we will fetch all the files, and those files will be ingested in our database with a separate table name. So you hope that will answer your question.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you have a bucket and then inside the bucket you have files that have different structure, would I get
a table for each of the files? Assumably, I presume yes.
Yeah, so each files will have will have its own table in the database.
So if I have 1,000 files in a bucket, I will get 1,000 tables. Is that it?
Correct.
So, Christian, so we can also have regular expressions to kind of filter out what you want out of that bucket as well. That's a default behavior. What you're doing, you can say that, hey, I only want to look at under the bucket. I'm just giving a random name here, XYZ underscore whatever, right? So that's a pattern that you can actually configure and say that, okay, I want to only fetch that particular schema that attributes to every other file in that. Right. So typical experience that we have seen so far from the feedback is a bucket contains similar homogeneous schema files, not varied. So we are taking a sample of that and putting it in. But if you have different ones within the same bucket, we go with scanning all of them, taking few records at the top of the file, and analyzing the schema and putting as a table. But again, this is something that we can tweak and adjust accordingly based on your feedback and the community feedback. So that'll be great if you can give us like, hey, this is how we store at our place, and if you provide some mechanisms to kind of optimize that, we will be happy to take a look.
Yeah, no, I think this is it's the reasonable use case, and we sort of have the same one. So we have a bucket, and then underneath we have many files which share the same structure. I was just interested in how the actual sampling works, in the sense that maybe you don't want, you can imagine if you have 100 terabytes of data inside the bucket, you don't want to scan all that, right?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, typically the bucket will have partition files, right? We are taking the latest file and taking only the top of the few records, analyzing that. Again, sure, that schema might have changed. It's hard to calculate all of that, but we are trying to optimize not scanning the entire bucket and only taking a few records of a file within the bucket.
Okay, and is that configurable in any way?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, that's a default behavior, and you can configure that as well by using the filtering options.
And what about the actual sampling? Let's say, would I be able to say, sample 5% of the whole data, or maybe 1%, or would this be achievable as like a future feature, for example?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we can do that. We are doing 11.1, so we are releasing this tomorrow. 11.1 comes in 2 weeks later, so we can actually talk to you and see what works for you. If you can run a test and give us a feedback, we can quickly adapt to that.
Excellent. Yeah, this is one feature that we really were looking forward to, and it sounds like it's what we need. So we'll be happy to test it, and we'll get back with some feedback. Thanks a lot for all the work.
Thank you. Thanks, Christian. If anybody has any other questions, we have a couple of minutes. If not, we can end there. We're pretty much right on the hour mark. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Keep an eye out for our release announcements tomorrow, everyone. Thank you so much for joining.